welcome to the new student orientation for fall 2020. My name is Clark Harris. I'm the Dean of Academics here at UEWM, and I'm here with Sharon, Joe, and Viviana. They're going to help us help you guys understand what to expect from your time at UEWM and how you can make the best progress and make sure you follow all the rules and understand what to expect each semester and all kinds of fun stuff. So let's go ahead. History, mission, and objective. So many of you may be aware that UEWM was founded in October 1997 in Sunnyvale, California. We are approved by several organizations in order to be able to teach Chinese medicine both in California, and our program is accredited for the national as well. So we need to be approved by the BPPE, which is the Bureau of Private Post-Secondary and Vocational Education. That's the organization that allows us to do business in California. We are approved by the California Acupuncture Board in order to be able to teach you so you can get your license. And we're approved by ACOM, which is the accrediting body for all schools in the United States. So to improve the quality of American healthcare by providing graduate education, this is our goal. This helps us to train practitioners to be able to work in traditional Chinese medicine in the United States. We're also here to serve society and to educate people in Eastern and Western medical field. So that part of your training will be both in Chinese medicine as well as Western medicine. Many of our professors and supervisors have, you'd be amazed when you hear their experience and their background. Some of them have 30, 40 years experience. This is one of the things that I truly appreciated when I was going through the program is that when you ask a question, you're able to get a very confident answer from your instructors. They're here to help you understand as best they can, and the more questions, the better. Many times, I think one of the biggest things that some students do that is reduces their chances of success is some people are a little bit nervous to ask a question, and they may feel like maybe it's not a good question or something like this. And you know, we say there's no bad questions, there's just bad answers. So hopefully you'll be able to ask plenty of questions. Don't worry about whether they're good or bad. Just you know, because you never know when your question will help somebody else too. And this is one of the things that I see people do is they don't ask enough questions sometimes when they're not quite clear. So this is what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions and help you understand. And like I said, we have extremely experienced and our staff is, our faculty is here to help you learn. And so the last slide was mostly for our Chinese program, although some of them do teach in the English program as well. And then these are, like you see the bottom right-hand corner, he teaches the herbs and English program as well. That's Dr. Guy. And then you have the other three there. They teach primarily the Chinese program. That's Li Zhongwang, Wan Lao Shi, and Zhang Lao Shi. All of the basics, foundations, diagnosis, herbs, and internal medicine, all kinds of fun subjects for you to learn. And you'll get to know all of them very well. They'll teach more than one class each for you, so you'll be able to get to know them better and better as you progress through your semesters. And the next slide is primarily our English instructors. You can see me there in the top left, and you have Shanshan Li on the right top, and you have Professor Winters in the bottom left. He teaches Western medicine, and then Dr. Grace Wathen there in the bottom right. She teaches psychology and patient care. Like I said, we're here to answer your questions. The one thing you have to remember about Chinese medicine and health and medicine in general is there's no way for any one person to absolutely always know everything and have it all in their head all the time. I mean, there's things that you'll learn and you'll forget. There's things that you will maybe not have been exposed to. There's things that you will of course, be expected to remember, especially for the license exam and stuff like this. But even once you get your license, when you're working with your patients, something that you can expect is that your patients will ask you questions, and it's better to let them know that you'll research their question and give them a better answer next time, as opposed to try and pretend like you know something you don't know. But with that said, like I said, most of our faculty have 20, 30, and 40 years experience. So it's not common that you'll see a question that they don't know. But if it does happen, just remember that, it's a learning process for all of us to continually learn. And that's one of the things I love about Chinese medicine, is that as you practice, you always learn more and more and more. And it's something that you can continue to always learn throughout your entire life. Even when you're 90 years old, there's still more to learn. And for me, this is what I love about it, just because I have such a passion for understanding the human experience, and Chinese medicine really helps with that. School policy. Registration happens at the end of each semester, prior to the break. And typically the semester, we open the registration for 2 or 3 weeks. And then if you do not register during the open registration period, you will be charged a late fee in order to register. So keep that in mind. We can register as late as 2 weeks into the semester, but like I said, ideally at the end of this semester, for instance, since this is your first semester with us, you will start registering for classes before your final exams, and you should have a clear idea of what to expect for the next semester. We'll share the schedule with you, and you'll be able to register for your classes online. We're doing that through the website. So you go to the website and you find the forms page, or there's also, you can find it through the NCCAOM information. There's the NCCAOM registration link. Now, with that said, in your first semester, you work with Sharon and Viviana primarily to figure out your schedule. And then after that, you will come to my department, the academics department, and either Jennifer or I can help you with that, to register for every semester thereafter. Now, something I really want to encourage you to do is to communicate with the academics office minimum of once per year, but I actually prefer you contact us at least once per semester to make sure you understand where you are in the whole big picture of making your way towards graduation, what you need to do in order to get there, and the time frame that you have in mind as best you can. Now, with that said, it is possible that the classes that you think that you need the next semester are not offered this next semester. So this is why, if you come to us every semester, we can help you understand what to expect over the next 2, 3 semesters, even beyond, so that you can understand when you're supposed to be looking forward to each class and how to make satisfactory academic progress. Now, the tuition payment, once you register, you have 7 days to pay for your tuition. If you do not pay for your tuition within 7 days of registration, your registration will be considered null and void, and you will have to re-register. Now, if this happens, you will be charged a late fee if it's beyond the open registration period, and otherwise, and once again, you'll need to pay your tuition within 7 days from there. Unless, of course, you're a financial aid student, and then financial aid works in a slightly different process. Now, if you're an audit student, now in order to be an audit student, you do pay a lower tuition, and you would need to get permission to audit a class from the instructor, right? So this is something that we do have, and as an audit student, you're expected to, you're not taking tests, you're not doing homework, you're pretty much just observing the class. And you're expected to not really disturb the class, let the students that are taking the program for a degree ask all the the real questions. You can talk to the teacher during the break or after the class is over, but it is expected that you do not disturb the class as an audit student. And attendance. Attendance, you're required to attend 80% of the class. This means that if it's a 15-week class, or 15-week course, then you need to attend minimum of 12 classes. That means you can miss up to 3 classes without having any real issues. If you do miss more than 3 classes, you will lose credit for the class. You will automatically fail the class, and you will not get a grade for, you will not get a passing grade for the class. So if you want to make sure that you make good progress in the class, you need to make sure that you attend a minimum of 80%. Of course, we prefer 100% attendance, but we understand that sometimes you do have emergencies and you do have things that go on in your life that make it impossible for you to attend. We understand that. If there is a chance that if you miss more than 20%, that you can do makeup work, but this is completely up to the instructor's discretion whether or not they will allow it. And so I would not expect that it's a 100% guarantee for you to be able to do makeup work. Your best path forward is to always attend the minimum of 80% of the class. Now, as far as withdrawals are concerned, or leave of absence, you can withdraw from the.
So the last day to drop the class is the 9th week, because we have a tuition refund policies. So the refund policy is prorated. So if you drop your classes, we will refund your tuition prorated. But after 9th week, you won't receive the refund, no refund anymore, because we only have 15 weeks classes.
Now, as far as leave of absence is concerned, you are allowed to take a leave of absence once per year, once per 12-month cycle. So what that means is that, let's say you're in your first year and you take 1 semester off, then you must attend at least 2 semesters before you're allowed to take another semester off. That's the way the leave of absence works. So you're not able to take 2 semesters off in a row, or even take 1 semester off and then come back for 1 semester and then take another semester off. You have to come back for at least 2 semesters before you can take another leave of absence. So the way that this works, you know, like at some universities, some students will take off the summer. So you could take off the summer every year if you really wanted to. Of course, this would slow down your academic progress. If you are trying to graduate in 36 months or a 3-year pace, then you would need to attend every semester for 3 years. Now, as far as add drop and transfer courses are concerned, add drop, there's an add drop form on the forms page on the website, and it costs $50 to do an add drop. So once you've registered, if you realize that there's another class that you want to add, or you similar to a withdrawal, if you want to drop the class and get partial refund for the class. If you drop the class before the semester starts, then you'll get full refund. But after that, you'll only get a prorated refund. And it does cost a $50 fee in order to add drop a class. Now, as far as transfer courses are concerned, all of your basic sciences are easily transferred in if you already have them at another school. If you do have some advanced medical training, like I know some people are MDs or nurses or chiropractors or physical therapists or these kind of advanced training, then some of those courses could be transferred in as well. Also, if you're an international student and you want to transfer in some TCM education from China or wherever you learned, you can do that as well. Or if you went to another school and you want to transfer in your even here locally in California or the United States, if you want to transfer in some of your courses from a previous education, all of this is possible, but there is a $30 transfer fee per class. Just be informed that does exist. So for each class, you're able to transfer it in. Now, the way that the transfer course works, if your education is from the United States, then you get 100% transfer. If it's from China or internationally, then it's the basic sciences, that's not a problem. That still gets 100% transfer. But if it is the TCM transferred courses, then you only get half credit for that. Honor system and cheating policy. I want to make it very clear, we do not tolerate cheating at UEWM. If you get caught cheating on an exam or in general, then you will lose credit for that exam or that assignment. And so let's put it in the positive light though. What I really want to say is that we encourage you to study hard. We encourage you to do your best to pass exams with your own efforts. And I know from experience, the more it starts to stick and the more you start to remember it, and you will become more and more confident as you get into your second and third year of studies. And by the time you're finished with your third year of studies, you should be very confident and ready to take the graduation exam. Now, if you're a full-time student. Now, if you're part-time, obviously, then it's going to take more than 3 years to get to the graduation exam. But yes, I want to encourage you to be good students, follow the rules of the clinic when you're in the clinic, follow the rules of the classroom, and do your best to achieve the best grades you can and learn the information as best you can. That's, my best advice to you in order to be able to make good academic progress is to consistently study and review. Even after you finish a course, much of the information that you're going to learn in your first year, you're going to use through the entire program. And so it's important to revisit that information on a somewhat regular basis. Of course, it will be required in what your understanding is in your more advanced classes, but it doesn't hurt to always go back to your foundations and the diagnosis in order to be able to really, truly make the most of your program. Now, we do have a general rule for drug and alcohol. They are not permitted on campus. And we do have a safe campus I've been here since 2013. I've never seen any problems with cars being robbed or anything like that. So the parking lot's pretty safe. Now the library is available to you as well. We do have a fully stocked library with both English, Chinese books. And if you ever see a book that you really think the school should have in the library that we do not, please let us know. We'd be happy to order it and have it in our library. I just ordered a book a couple of weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to seeing it show up. Yeah, so that's the general school policy on those issues. Feel free to always communicate with Sharon or myself or any of our staff if you want to understand more. Now, financial aid is for permanent residents or U.S. citizens. So if you're an international student, this does not include you. So you do need to make sure that you fill out your FAFSA and supply all the documents in order to do that. And you need to make sure that you communicate with our financial aid officer, Hui-Ping, on I would talk to her every single semester. So part of what I did when I was going through the program, this is what I encourage you to do as well, is there's certain offices that you're going to want to make sure that you touch base with every single semester. The academics office is one, the registrar is another, the finance department is another, and then financial aid if you're on financial aid. If you talk to us every single semester and come just say hi and let us know how you're doing and ask us any questions that you have about what you need to do next. If you do that every single semester, then I don't foresee you having any problems graduating on time. And in my experience, it's better for you to get to know us on a face-to-face personal level so that we can better help you and better serve you. Now, as far as the financial aid is concerned, currently it is around the 6.6% interest rate, and that does change. I've seen it go as low as 5.8, 6.2. It fluctuates up and down depending on the year. There is an origination fee of 1.069%, and of course that's subject to change as well. You're able to take out a maximum of $10,250 per semester. These are all graduate level loans. So this is the standard and the rules for that. But you do need to maintain a minimum of 6 units per semester and a minimum GPA of 2.3. If you fall below the 6 units or 2.3 GPA, then you will not be able to take out more financial aid. And you'll need to make sure that you talk to Huiping and figure out how you can get back on it if you do fall below that level. But you know, like I said, if you study 2 to 3 hours a day and you continually communicate with all of your professors and your staff here, then I don't foresee you having those kinds of issues.
So I want to say one point. So before you submit all the required qualified admission documents, you cannot request a financial aid, but you can get a consultation from our finance aid officer, Huiping. And so, but if you want to get the financial aid as soon as possible, please submit all the required documents right away.
And so this is a list of all the documents, and most of them you should already have into the admissions office, the application form, official transcripts. If they're not already here, then they should be on their way. We will need them by the end of the semester at the latest. Of course, we prefer them earlier because that helps us to better understand where you stand and how we can best move forward with your education and your courses. We need a proof of residency, some kind of passport, permanent resident card, or even if you are a California and U.S. citizen, then a driver's license could work. We need photo. Now, it used to be that we always had physical photos, but you can send digital photos as long as they still have the 2" by 2" standard requirement for a passport photo. You need your current resume, 2 letters of recommendation, 500-word statement of purpose. Now, I'm sure most of you have already done this, but the 2 letters of recommendation can be from anyone that knows you and understands you well enough to be able to say that you'll be able to be a good student, basically, and work towards graduation, and they expect you to be successful in the program. Now, your 500-word statement of purpose is basically saying why do you want to study Chinese medicine? What is your purpose for learning Chinese medicine? That helps us to get to better know you so that we can better serve you. Now, we also, for international students, there's some extra requirements of bank statements showing a minimum balance of $15,000, and then you'll need your financial support certificate form, and then, of course, we need a signed student enrollment agreement. And if your education is not from an English-speaking country for your 2 years of required undergrad before you can get into the master's program, then you will need to take a TOEFL test. This is all required before you start the program, so this should not be an issue for anybody that's on this call with us. All documents are required to be in English and submitted within a 2-week period of the start of the semester or within 2 weeks of your application, with the exception of the official transcript, which should be submitted no later than the end of.
So before the student submit all the required documents, we cannot enroll you into our advantage system. So your study record cannot be recorded in your account promptly. So please submit your admission documents as soon as possible. Thank you.
Non-English speaking crowd, we have the TOEFL rules have changed recently. The new TOEFL rule is that we need a 61 total score with 20 speaking and a 17 listening. Or if you take the IELTS, it's a 6 total score with a 6.5 speaking and a 6 listening required. This is higher than it used to be, but they raised it up to 80 at one point, so it's better than it was for most of 2019. So they did change that for 2020, and so this is a little bit easier for some students, but still beyond what other students So this slide here is a general view of what the course would look like if you were to take it on a 3-year schedule. Now, this is not what it will look like because every semester has different courses available and it won't necessarily play out like this. But this gives you an idea of what you need to do in order to graduate in a 3-year time frame. And the top 3 rows that you see for year 1, year 2, and year 3 do not include the basic sciences. So if you need the basic sciences as well, it will be slightly more classes each semester, especially for the first year, because you need to have finished all your basic sciences before you start Clinic 3. And ideally, if you look at this one, we have you in Clinic 3 on your 5th semester. So it's about halfway through the program. And, you know, this may not be an issue for you, but if it is, please make sure you talk to Sharon and me about this, because we can help you to understand when the classes will be offered so that you can get them out of the way as soon as possible and make sure that you're ready for clinic. Because in my mind, it is extremely important that you get into clinic as early as you can. And the way that you see it here on this schedule, having you in CL1, you see at the bottom of your 3rd semester, Clinic 1 or theater, that's a good time to get into clinic if you can. If you have, well, actually, and even actually, Clinic 1 does not have any prerequisites, so you could take it at that time regardless. But Clinic 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all have prerequisites that you will need to make sure that you're keeping up with. So if you're on a 3-year schedule, this is a very good way to look at it. And for me, the takeaway on this is that, you know, there's a total, if you look at the bottom of the page, there's a total of 174 units or 390 hours. And if you want to finish that in 3 years, and that includes your basic sciences, that means that you need to take 19.3 units per semester in order to graduate in 3 years. So if you don't need the basic sciences, it's around 17 units on average, and that includes clinic. So like if you look on the 6th semester, you'll see 16 plus 5 at the bottom. That plus 5 is the clinic. So you have 16 plus 5, that's a total of 21 units. That's a pretty heavy semester. I did that for my entire 2nd and 3rd year of my program. I was doing 20 and 21 units per semester until the very last semester. So anybody that's talked to me before knows that this is my favorite document. I recommend you get a copy of this. You can download it from the website, or you can come to campus and we'll give you a copy of it. And as you go through the program, what I recommend you do is you just cross off the classes once you finish them with a C or above. Remember, the C is the lowest passing grade. So if you get a C minus or a D plus, even though those are not Fs, they're still failing grades. You will not be able to get credit for the class unless you have a minimum of a C in the class. Now, as you progress through the class, this math is extremely important for you to understand the prerequisites. So if you see an arrow, what it's telling you is that everything before that arrow is required to move past that arrow. And unless you see a plus sign. So in the top left, when you see acupuncture 1 and acupuncture 2, if those were to be offered at the same semester, you could take them together because there is a plus sign there. The same thing with acupuncture 2 and 3. And then when you get to acupuncture 3 and 4, you actually see that there's a bidirectional arrow and a plus sign. So you could actually take acupuncture 4 before acupuncture 3, or you could take them together. And the same thing goes for 5 and 6. But you cannot take 5 until you finish both 3 and 4, right, or 6. So you could take acupuncture 3 and 4 and then go all the way to 6 and then come back and take 5 because it does have a bidirectional arrow. So that's what I want you to understand on this page is watch the arrows, watch the plus signs, and then if you look at the very bottom of the page, you'll see that there's no prerequisites for that entire section, or the basic sciences, the 3rd line from the bottom. You need to make sure that you finish all those within 2 years if you're on a full-time schedule. But like you saw on the last slide, it really helps to have finished them by a 1.5 years. And if you go up to that box in the top right that includes external TCM external medicine, TCM internal medicine. You know, there's all kinds of fun advanced classes in there. That's basically your senior level courses that you will need to have finished your diagnosis and your formulas in order to be able to take those classes. Now, also, if you look at the line below that, the human anatomy, human physiology, pathology, pathophysiology, physical exam, and lab diagnosis, that's the whole Western medicine line. That's your more advanced stuff, except for human anatomy and human physiology, which is also, you'll see that in the basic science section. So that's the only thing that's on this map that's there twice. So once you take it once, you can cross it off on both sections. And Western medicine line, you need to have taken pathology and pathophysiology before you can take physical exam, lab diagnosis, and Western pharmacology. And then you'll need to finish both of those classes before you can move into Western medical science 1 and 2. So these arrows are extremely important. If you try and take a class out of order, you will not be granted permission to take that class. So it's very important that you follow the order, because each class builds on the next, so that you can grow your understanding progressively instead of trying to jump around in disorganized fashion and confuse yourself. This map here that's why I consider this the most useful map we have, because I mean, if you go into the catalog, you can read all this information. It'll tell you exactly which classes have which prerequisites, but this visual here makes it very clear. So it's very easy to understand. The only thing that's a little bit complicated is if you look at the clinic line, just below the arrows, you'll see, like, between clinic 1 and clinic 2, you see an entrance exam. And then in the arrow for between clinic 2 and clinic 3, you see C&T above and complete all basic sciences below. So there's some things in there that you can do, like community service. You're allowed to start when you get into CL3, but it's not required. You'll just need it before you graduate, but that's the earliest that you can take it. And then you have a comprehensive exam between clinic 4 and clinic 5. And then it's not on this map, but there's also a comprehensive 2 exam, which is your graduation exam, which is off the map, because that's the very last thing you need to do in order to finish the program. So this, like I said, if you do not already have a copy of this, either download it. I recommend you print it out and just keep it in your folder and just start crossing them off as you finish the courses, to help you have a very clear visual of where you stand. Basically, you move from the left side of the document all the way to the right side, and once you're off the right side, you're done. Clinic, like I said, it's one of the more complicated aspects of all the things that you have to do and prepare for and have in order to be able to do it. It's a total of 960 clinic hours with 350 patients minimum. If you show up regularly and stay the full shift, and basically there's 2 shifts per day, 1 shift in the morning until 1, and the other shift goes from 1 until we close. If you stay the full day and you show up early and you're on time and stay your whole shift, you'll have no problem getting your 350 patients. Do not worry about that. That is not something that you should worry about. As long as you are being a good student and a good intern, you will most likely get more than 350 patients by the time you are finished. For myself, I had over 500 patients by the time I was done with the program, and I have many of my colleagues that were in the program with me. Nobody had a problem getting 350 patients. Some of the things you need to be aware of those, you need to have a physical exam and a TB test before you start clinic. And there are entrance exams to get into CL2. There's also promotion exams between each level of clinic. So you'll need to pass that promotion exam to be able to go from clinic 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, 6 to 7. Like we already said, you need to have all of your basic sciences before CL3, and you also have to have CNT. CNT has recently gone online, so it's a little bit easier to get the classes done. It used to be only once or twice a year, but now that they're online, it should be easier to get your CNT on a more of a demand type basis. There still is some kind of limitation to how many students they'll allow in a group, so there is that, but it's offered on an ongoing basis now. So I'm hoping that it'll be easier for people to get this requirement out of the way. Comp 1 exam, like I said, is before Clinic 5, and the Comp 2 exam is your graduation exam. Now, both of those comp exams, they are comprehensive, which is what the word comp means. It's an abbreviation for comprehensive. And what that means is it's going to have Western medicine in it. It's going to have anatomy and physiology. It's going to have maybe some pharmaceutical stuff, pharmacology questions. And it's definitely going to have foundations, diagnosis, herbs and formulas, and acupuncture in it as well. And it'll probably have some C&T questions in it as well. So it's everything that you need to know in order to that you should have learned by the time you're getting into acupuncture 5. So if you, it's not 100% like this, but if you draw a straight line down from between acupuncture 4 and 5 all the way down to the bottom of the page, if you look to the left of that line, that's what you'll need. See, if you draw that line down, you'll see that below the clinic, it says comprehensive 1. So that basically from where that comprehensive exam 1 is on the page, if you go left of that, that's what you need to have for the comprehensive 1 exam. But it actually includes acupuncture 5. So that's the one thing that's to the right of it that you would need that's not completely in line with the map. So that's just showing you that it's 2/3 of the program is what you need to know for the comprehensive 1, right? The comprehensive 2 is the entire program. So there's no real way to study for this other than just to review your notes for all your classes that you've already taken by the time you get to it. And once you do that, then you need a minimum passing score of 70% in order to pass the exam. So it's 200 questions, so it's 140 currently true, because that is basically what you need in order to get on the board exam as well. You need about, historically, they require you to have around 130 questions out of 175, which is about 74%. And that's basically what a C grade is, 75%. So this is the way we're planning to move forward with this in the next semester or so. So those comprehensive exams, like I said, they are difficult. It is not uncommon for people to fail them. I recommend you, especially the Comp 1, to take it early. If you think that you need it to get into CL5, let's say that you need it for January, then I recommend you take it in November. That way, if you fail it, you have the opportunity to take it one more time before you absolutely need it in order to make steady progress in the program. That's my best slide here, shows us some things, especially for clinic, that you need. So the HIPAA and OSHA on the top left, you need to do that every year. That's offered in the Clinic 1 class. So it's every semester it will be scheduled, and you'll need to renew that once per year. So basically what happens is, let's say you take your Clinic 1, and then let's say that you take it in the fall. Well, then every year in the fall, when we offer CL1 again, you'll go for that 1 hour to take the HIPAA and OSHA training every single year. CPR is good for 2 years. We offer that once per semester. And CNT is good for 6 years. So if you are extremely part-time and it takes you more than 6 years between when you take your CNT and the apply for your license, you will need to retake it before you get your license. That's one thing that you need to be aware of. Otherwise, most people, if they're on a 3-year program and they finish in 3 years and they took their CNT and they're late in their first year, then their CNT is still good for their license, so they don't need to worry about retaking it. Now, if we look at the quadrants there, each semester you're going to have a midterm, final, maybe quizzes, possibly a paper presentation. Those are different ways that you'll be graded in your classes. And then you'll need the clinic exam, the entrance exam, and the promotion exams for the clinic. You'll need the comprehensive 1 and 2. And then you have your CAOM or your California Acupuncture Licensing exam, or the NCCAOM Certificate exam. So I have not taken the NCCAOM Certificate exam, but I have taken the CAOM. CAOM was hard, but not unreasonably hard. if you do study everything that you learn in the program, and I recommend that you study a minimum of 100 hours for the graduation exam and a minimum of 100 hours for the board exam. If you do that 200 hours of study plus your final review class and all, ideally continually review throughout the program, then you will be ready for both the graduation exam and the CAOM and the NCCAOM. Now, like I said, I've never taken the NCCAOM exam, but many people say that it's actually somewhat easier than the CAOM. But I've also recently heard that they've been making it harder, so that may not continue to be the case. But the CAOM, I can tell you from experience, and I've also been talking to recent graduates, that it is a difficult exam, and especially now they moved it onto the computers instead of going to Sacramento and LA like we used to. It's at least available locally for everybody, so you don't have to travel as far. You don't have that stress of having to get in a hotel the day before and all the craziness of going to a different city. So it's a lot of the stress of the exam has been reduced, but they are also making sure that that exam is challenging for people. And so they're continually updating those questions. So this is why I basically just be prepared, continue to study throughout the program. Like I said, it is computer-based now. It is offered 6 days a week. It's shows here 17 testing sites throughout California. 175 questions are required. They do give 200 questions. So what that means is that 25 of those questions are, they call them like practice questions. They want to see whether or not they want to use them on the next test. And so they don't really grade those ones. They just want to see how you did on them and see whether they want to use them in the future. It's a 5-hour exam. So similar, so what we do with the Comp 1 and the Comp 2 exams is we model them after the CAOM. And so we give you 5 hours to take the Comp 1, and it's 200 questions just like on the CAOM. And the same thing with the Comp 2, it's 200 questions and we give you 5 hours. So by the time you've taken the Comp 1 and the Comp 2 twice, you're somewhat prepared for at least the idea of taking a 200 question test that lasts up to 5 hours. Now, we do have one of the best passing rates in California for the CAOM, and historically it's always been somewhere in the high 80s to even low 90s percentile. Now with COVID, we did have a lower passing rate most recently because there were so few students that took it, and it really was difficult for a lot of people this last year. So our most recent results are not that good, but if you look at our entire history, it's usually somewhere between 85 and 94% is our pass rate. There is an application fee of $75 for the exam, and then there's examination fee is $550. So the application fee is non-refundable, and then once you pay for the examination fee, pretty much that's non-refundable. So you don't want to fail it. You don't want to pay them, $625 again to take it again. And you see here, this is per the California Acupuncture Board. They show that it's 41.5% TCM foundations and diagnosis, 35% acupuncture, 10.5% herbs and formulas, and 13% clean needle technique, law and regulations. Now, a lot of people only focus on the foundations, diagnosis, and acupuncture. I don't recommend that you ignore the CNT, the Western medicine, the herbs and formulas, even though they're a smaller percentage of the test. I've mentioned this to some of you before, that I know people that have failed the test by one question. And I also know the people that I've talked to that failed it, they were all weak in their herbs and formulas. And so from what I've seen and what I can understand, the people that fail are the people that don't prepare enough for the herbs and formulas. Even though it's such a small percentage, but you do not want to be that person that fails by 1 or 2 questions just because you didn't study herbs. So the NCCAOM certification, remember the certification is not a license. And even if you take the California Acupuncture licensing exam, that doesn't guarantee you a license, you still have to pass the criminal background check. And with the NCCAOM, it's computer-based, just like the CAIL, and they have 4 sections. So it's foundations of Oriental medicine, acupuncture, herbology, and biomedicine. And each test is 100 questions. So it's a slightly different format, but and you don't have to have all 4 sections in order to be able to get a license. In many states do not require the herbology part. Some require the herbology part, and others require the herbology part only if you want to practice herbs. So it's a state-by-state regulation, so you need to look up your individual state if you decide to move out of California and figure out what that would be. Now, as far as the certification goes, the way that it works is it's on a 4-year cycle. Your license is on a 2-year cycle. So you have to do continuing education units for both. So in order to get an NCCAOM certificate, you would have to renew it every 4 years with 60 continuing education units. And for the license in California, in most states, it's 50 hours of recertification credits. So both, basically in a 4-year period, you'll have 100 for your license. So you can most likely transfer all of those to your certification, but you would need to continually pay for the certification every 4 years, just like your license every 2 years. So it is an additional expense. About half the states that use the NCCAOM use only the exam. So if you take the exam, as long as you have an exam grade, they'll let you apply for a license. Other states do require that you continue to maintain the certification. So that is something that you do have to look at on a state-by-state basis. Yeah, so in Section 485 of the Higher Education Act, codified at 20 U.S.C. 1092, requires colleges and universities to keep records and report annually of the nature, date, time, and place of crimes occurring on campus, including hate crimes. So like I said, if you do encounter any of that, please report it immediately. Also, before October 1st of every year, a mass email is sent to all current students, staff, and faculty with the updated link to the Clery Act policy and procedures, annual campus safety and security report, drug and alcohol prevention policies and procedures. A hard copy of the updated handbooks are kept in the library so that it is really accessible to students and faculty to review. UEWM believes that individuals have the right to work, study, and learn in a safe and secure campus setting. UEWM and its students and employees share the responsibility of maintaining the atmosphere of taking responsible precautions, or reasonable precautions, being vigilant, and using common sense approach to personal safety. You can reach the consumer information on our website at uewm.edu/students/consumer. Also, you see the links there for the ASR and the drug and alcohol prevention policy procedures and our catalog. So if you really want to review those, take a screenshot real quick, and we can follow up with that later. Also, I recommend you take a picture of this screen as well. These are all the online application, class schedule, registration, transfer, course transfer, international student information catalogs, and especially important is our Contact Us page. So all of our emails from all the staff are there, including the clinic. So you can reach us through the Contact Us page, and many of us have direct phone numbers that you can call, so you don't need to go through the front desk in order to reach us. So I do recommend that you use that anytime you want to call us. I especially recommend it for the direct phone numbers if you want to contact us individually. Mine's on there for sure, and other staff members as well.